things went from bad to worse. Russillo's proving he's done some research. He's doing a little bit of flattery. But then Tyson Fury gets openly antagonistic. He says, come on, get with it. He says, get with the script, baldy. Now, both of these guys, they're both absurdly bald. So that is kind of funny, but you can see that Tyson Fury has gone to open antagonism and name calling.
Put that coffee down.
I'm not here to waste your time, okay? I certainly hope you're not here to waste mine. So I'm gonna keep this short.
Helen, we're both in sales. Let me tell you why I suck as a salesman.
The most valuable commodity I know of is information. Wouldn't you agree?
Coffee's for closers only.
Well, hello there, friend. Welcome back to the Behind Your Back podcast with me, Bradley Hartman, where it's our mission here to help you sell more, faster, at higher margins, and have more fun doing it. I want to thank our friends at Capital One Trade Credit. If you are interested in growing your top-line revenue while increasing cash flow and, that's right, at the same time, decreasing risk, well, you, my friend, might be interested in their dynamic digital platform that makes it easier for you to create new customers, make it easier for your customers to buy from you. Sounds wonderful, right? Well, check out Capital One Trade Credit and see if it's right for you. Now, this is episode number 4 in our mini series here as we prepare to launch the remaining seats. Only 24 seats available. We've got less than 12 now to sell for our 15-month OSR Academy. We have gathered up some of the smartest sales minds that we know that work for dealers, that are sales leaders at dealers like Nick Kukin at Kukin Brothers, or distributors like David Fields at Southwest Moldings, as well as a whole bunch of builders who are going to be contributing, as well as some LBM sales consultants like the legendary Mr. Bill Lee and Mike McDowell. We are all putting our heads together to create a blended learning online, offline course that will happen over the course of 15 months. 12 months will be training material very collaboratively. We're going to have 24 people from across the country that are going to work together. And then during the last 3 months, each individual in the program will be working with live house accounts, and we will transition from training to coaching. We will begin working with them on these accounts to drive incremental gross profit dollars to prove the ROI. Attendance at our 2.5-day sales fundamentals workshop is included. So if you have heard good things about that and that had ever seemed attractive, or if you've been to it or someone from your team has been to it, that is included in the price. And that's going to be happening in April of 2023. And again, there's only 24 seats available. We have already sold more than half. The investment is $1,500 a month for 15 months. And I realize it is not an insignificant sum, but in talking for the people that committed, they said the importance of getting the next generation of salespeople prepared in a way that is different from the folks that are out there now who've learned from shadowing and osmosis and might not be achieving their potential is absolutely worth the cost. So what have we been doing over the last 4 episodes? If you have not listened to those, we have kind of shared some of the key principles. The first episode we had last week was on the sales stack, which is a fundamental framework that we will begin talking about in the first month. The sales stack is sales process, the sales activities, sales skills, and sales tools. How do they all align? And how do we make sure we're confident and competent in each and every one of those? Then we moved on and we talked about some negotiation skills. We presented 2.5 ways to begin using better negotiation skills in your personal life to then carry over to your professional life. Both of those had assets you can download for free at behindyourbacksales.com/tools. Then in the last episode, we talked about the importance of a sales pipeline so we can make better forecasts. And we gave you some examples and we talked to my friend, Matt Bruno, who is an absolute all-star. As we talked about, well, we don't talk about Bruno. We don't talk about forecasts either, unless you happen to be Matt Bruno. And then you do both. We talk to him, we talk about him, and he talks about sales forecasts. So that brings us to today. This one really builds on some of the fundamental principles in negotiation. And every now and then, you find that a real life example is the perfect case study for understanding a principle that we've been talking about or learning. And you hear it play out in real time. And this happened to me back in September. I was listening to the Ryen Russillo podcast. He's an old ESPN guy, mainly talks about football and basketball, but whatever. He talks about anything that's going on in the sports world. I find him smart and funny, enjoy listening to him. I would recommend him to a friend if you're into that sports scene. He was doing an interview with Mr. Tyson Fury, who was the heavyweight champion of the world. And this was preceding the November 9th of last year fight with Deontay Wilder, the third fight they had together. So they were talking. And as I was listening to this, it was obvious from the beginning, and we're going to segment part of this conversation here and then interweave some coaching and teaching into it. You can hear that right off the bat, if this was a negotiation, Ryen was dealing with a hostile partner in this. If this was a customer, this would be a hostile customer who wasn't happy. And you can hear this right off the bat. And then in the middle, something really important happens. And what you will hear is this one conversation, which isn't long, is two distinct conversations. And Ryen, who I believe is very socially intelligent, he probably, without knowing it, employed a very critical negotiation technique that changed everything. So what I'd like to do here is we're going to start playing this conversation between Ryen Russillo and Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury is the British guy. He swears a lot. Now, we beep them out, but if you're the type you don't even like to hear the beeps and do think about what naughty words this gentleman was saying, although I will say, when someone with a British accent swears, somehow it's more enjoyable. But anyway, we have bleeped out the multiple swear words, which I think adds even more color to this conversation. So we're going to start this conversation between Ryen Russillo and Tyson Fury, and I'm going to jump in here in a couple minutes.
If anyone watched the first fight or the second fight, I'm sure they're looking forward to part 3 of Tyson Fury and Deontay Wilder, October 9th, and we have Tyson with us now. Okay, so heavyweight champ of the world at this point. This has been a journey not only for you, but just to get to this third fight. I know the Anthony Joshua deal and all that. There have been some comments recently where their camp was really upset with the timing of all of this. Where are you at right now, just in what you think of Wilder, the fighter and the person?
I think Wilder's a piece as a fighter, and even bigger piece as a person. That's what I think about him.
Now, is that specific to him calling you guys liars and basically saying he hopes your camp burns in hell? I mean, he got pretty specific.
No.
Okay.
Listen, he can say what he wants. It's all bullshit. I don't take any notice to what people say. It's just their opinions, and everybody's allowed their opinion. But yeah, what Wilder says goes in there and out of there. Man's a house. Piece of coward. No good piece of bum rubbish. That's all he is.
Did you feel that way prior to the first fight?
No, I thought he was an all right man in the first fight, but the amount of excuses that this man's come out with is ridiculous.
What pissed you off the most then?
Nothing. This is all bull. Everything he says is bull these days. He's mentally unstable, and I'm going to put that final nail coffin in when I destroy him on 2-3 weeks' time.
The first fight, you came in at 257. Your stamina, Tyson, is unbelievable for somebody your size. I mean, where did you learn how to fight this way? I mean, I know your family, I know the background, but how did you figure out to have this much movement, this much stamina that late into the first fight?
I was born like this. I come out my mother's womb like this. Now,
You weighed 273 in the second fight. How did that help you finish that one earlier?
Didn't. Whether I weighed 222 or 292, the outcome would have been the same.
Now, I know he bulked up. Did you think he was slower, another 12 pounds up?
It doesn't make a difference to me if they come in slow or fast or whatever. The outcome's always going to be the same. They're going to get annihilated.
You had mentioned in an interview that you weren't sure of his power leading up to it, and it felt like you respected his power more after that first fight. Is that accurate? Because it doesn't seem like you respect him right now all that much. But,
I didn't respect him in the second fight at all. Walked right through him. Didn't give a about his power. It's heavyweight boxing. They can all punch, every one of them.
Okay, I'm going to jump in here right now. So about 2.5 minutes have passed. Ryen Russillo has asked 8 questions. And on average, for each one of those 8 questions, the response from Tyson Fury has averaged 28.6 words, which is not a lot in spoken language, especially when someone has a British accent and they're speaking really fast and they might be stuttering a little bit. 28.6 words is not a long answer. Needless to say, if you're an interviewer like Ryen Russillo, things are not going well. Now, how do I know it's 28.6? Is it that we transcribed this section of the conversation and then we plotted out the questions that Ryen Russillo asked and the answers that Tyson Fury gave and we put them in Excel and we made a neat chart? Yes. This is what I do. I obsess over ridiculous things when we see sales and sports overlapping. So 2.5 minutes in, Russillo has asked 8 questions. On average, the answer has been 28.6 words from Tyson Fury. And as you've listened to, there's been little to no substantive answers from Fury. These are all throwaway BS things that he is not really putting any thought or generosity into. So as we move forward, Ryen Russillo is going to continue to use kind of his 2-part framework that he abandons later, you'll hear. His general approach is to prove that he's been doing research. He's watched other interviews, so he's coming prepared. You can tell he has a specific set of questions that he's working through. Well, 8 questions in 2.5 minutes. He's burning through these pretty quickly. And his general framework is he's going to be professional. He's going to show he's prepared and he's going to use a little bit of flattery. So that is Russillo's presentation thus far. Okay, let's jump back in.
The first fight, though, it was a glancing blow, the first knockdown. The second knockdown, I've seen you in other interviews saying like, whoa, that kind of surprised me. I look up, I see the ref with a 4, but your eyes were clear immediately. How quick was that recovery on the second knockdown?
I don't remember last week, mate. Never mind 3 years ago. I remember what I had for dinner this morning. Never mind 3 or 4 years ago. Come on. Get with it. Get with the script, Baldy.
We're not fighting, so I don't.
Good. I like all this talk. Get fierce. We're in fight mode.
Okay, in 45 seconds, things went from bad to worse. Russillo's proving he's done some research. He's doing a little bit of flattery. But then Tyson Fury gets openly antagonistic. He says, come on, get with it. He says, get with the script, Baldy. Now, both of these guys, they're both absurdly bald. So that is kind of funny, but you can see that Tyson Fury has gone to open antagonism and name calling. So Russillo, for the first time, comes close to applying what we're going to talk about here in a moment, labeling during a negotiation, of labeling what somebody else is presenting, saying, oh, it seems like you're angry, or it seems like you're pissed off, or it seems like you're frustrated. It appears to me, these are all forms of label. When he tries to do this, he points out that, hey, you and I, we're not fighting. He points out, hey, man, I'm on your side. I'm trying to help promote your fight. So he attempts to label. He attempts to push back a little bit, but this is a fail. So at this point, Ryen Russillo, he's going to try to reset and reframe the conversation to get a little bit more traction.
Give me more of a background on how you figured out to have this much move. Because big guys don't fight the way you fight.
I didn't listen, honestly, right? The questions you're asking me, I have no answers to. It's a God-given talent. I didn't figure anything out. I box like this because it's a natural thing. I didn't figure it. I didn't practice it. It's natural. It's nothing I can answer. I can't answer that question because there's no answer to the question. It's God-given ability, talent, whatever you want to call it.
How close was this fight to not happening then with all the other bullshit you had to deal with?
Yeah, that's a better question. Come on.
You've answered this question with other people, so maybe it's just lead up to fight week.
I've not done any interviews at all for 6-7 months. I've done maybe 1 or 2 interviews. I've not been doing interviews.
I saw the beach interview, and I thought it was a great interview.
I've been out of the media completely.
All right.
So this fight was close to not happening because Wilder and his contract expired, and I was about to fight Anthony Joshua for the big bucks. in Saudi Arabia, and then that got up by Wilder. So here we are again. I'll just take it all out on Wilder's face, and then I'll go and up AJ as well afterwards. So double bubble where I come from.
Okay. Things have once again got worse. Fast forward another 45 seconds. Russillo is unable to reset this. He says, all right, give me more of a background on how you figure out how to move this much, because big guys don't fight the way you fight. So he's continuing with the flattery that is not working. Then he asks, how close was this fight to not happening with all of the other BS? He's searching. You can see him searching for a question that might land. And Tyson Fury tells him, which is accurate, it's derogatory, but accurate. He says, yeah, that's a bad question. Beep, come on. Now he's not wrong, which Russillo comes back and agrees to. He says, you've answered this question with other people, so maybe it's just to fight week. So right there, Russillo is acknowledging he's asking a question that other people have asked and he has answered before. Well, why wouldn't he just use this as research? And I think we know the answer is he's probably looking at his list of 25 questions and, less than 4 minutes in, he's already burned through 17 of them. So then Russillo says, I saw the beach interview and I thought it was a great interview. Again, he's going back to what I would think normally works. Proof that you're a professional, you've done your research, and some flattery. And you know what they say about flattery. It generally works. However, it is not working here. So for those scoring at home, which no one is scoring at home but me, I totally get it. It's a sickness, but hopefully it'll be helpful. The first 8 questions, Tyson Fury was averaging 28.6 words per answer. In the 3 subsequent questions, he has jumped up to 38.0. However, the last one was only 7 words. So let's jump back in, see where it goes from here.
How often do you have to think about the right hand from Wilder?
I don't think about anything. I go in there, do what I do. Yeah.
What's the best bar fight you've ever been in?
Best bar fight?
Yeah.
Probably about 2 months ago. It was all in a big bar in England. And all of a sudden, next minute, I've been cracked in the back of the head. I've looked round. Someone's cracked me. I've hit him with an uppercut. Bang. My mate Tim's grabbed a stool and hit someone over the head with it. It was like a proper Western movie brawl fight.
And you don't have to hit anybody? Do you just stand there or do you take care of it?
I just let them fly. Whoever comes forward can get it. Self-protection. What's it called? Self-defense. In England, if somebody hits me, I'm in me with me rights to hit them back. It's self-defense.
So finally here you see Russillo changing tactics a little bit. Maybe this was a documented question, or maybe it was one he had deep in the bag he didn't know if he was going to get to because it's a little bit different. It's a non sequitur. He just blurts out, what's the best bar fight you've ever been in? And then Tyson Fury says, best bar fight? He says, yeah. All of a sudden you're like, oh, okay. I didn't see this coming. So he changed tactics, which helped a little bit, but Tyson Fury is still answering these short questions. Here we're up to question number 14, and over the last 3, he's up to 40.7 words per answer. Now, it was 28.6 for the first 8. The next 3 was 38, and the next 3, it's 40.7. Again, 40 words in an answer is a very short, clipped answer. So it's here that Ryen Russillo is going to apply a label very directly for the first time. Now, this one isn't going to land, but you can see him testing out another strategy that will work here in the next minute or so. So it's worth thinking about. When we talk about a label, what does that mean? Well, I'm going to read from Chris Voss's book, Never Split the Difference. And again, in video number 2 and podcast number 2 in this little mini series that we're doing, we talk about Mike Ackerman and the Ackerman method for negotiation. It's a schedule of price concessions. Well, Mike Ackerman was in Never Split the Difference. He was a mentor in the FBI to Chris Voss. So here is Never Split the Difference, which I would strongly recommend to a friend. Here's Chris Voss in the book, page 54 to be specific, talking about labeling. Talking about dealing with hostages, Chris Voss says, we didn't just put ourselves in the fugitives' shoes. We spotted their feelings, turned them into words, and then very calmly and respectfully repeated their emotions back to them. In a negotiation, that's called labeling. He switches to a little human psychology and he writes, in basic terms, people's emotions have two levels. The presenting behavior is the part above the surface you can see and hear. Beneath, the underlying feeling is what motivates the behavior. And the way you label is, he writes, you can say things like, oh, it seems like this, or it sounds like this, or it looks like this. And you're going to hear Ryen kind of transition to, well, it seems like you're angry, or it sounds like I'm ruining your day. And this changes everything. But you can see him for the first time right here, and it's not effective. But you can see Russillo trying this tactic right here when he asks him, is that why you're so angry? But again, he's using it with flattery and he's using it with humor. And you're going to see that this tactic doesn't work, but he's on a path to something that will.
You were an astonishingly good-looking guy when you were younger. I was looking at older pictures of you. Is that why you're so angry? Because you were model attractive with a full head of hair back in the day. As somebody who struggled with that too, I'll look at pictures.
Yeah, so I was like Prince Charming back in the day, but now I'm like a beast, animal. So I like it better like this anyway. When I was younger, I used to shave my hair off so it didn't get in the way when I fight. And now I don't even have to worry about it because I'm a bald-headed ugly bastard. So it doesn't really matter to me.
Well, okay, so when does the switch go on? Because I get it, man. You're doing something that nobody has the balls to do. There's very few people, and that's why I have so much respect for anybody that's in combat sports. You come out of that tunnel, and you're doing that a lot of people wish they could do, but they're just not wired that way. When do you know to start ramping it up that way, where you're looking at this as just battle, like medieval?
I'm ready to go now. Like I'm still got like 2.5 weeks to go, but I'm very eager to get going. I've done all my training. I've done 2 training camps. I've overcome a lot of hurdles, so I'm ready to go. So I'm really fired up all the way through, and can't wait for the night.
What goes through your head when you're coming out of the tunnel?
Destroy, seek and destroy, smash, Hulk smash. That's what I feel like when I'm walking through the tunnels and see all the crowd, and it gets me all going, and I feel like, yep, this is it. Don't get scared now.
What was it like when you did get scared?
I didn't get scared ever.
You never? You said you don't get scared now. So I didn't know. When you were younger, unproven, you never scared?
Never scared.
Never nervous?
You can't be a fighting man and be scared to go in a boxing ring. Not possible.
I think there's some guys that can be scared.
If you're scared, you're not going to be a true champion, are you? Because, it's only a man with a pair of gloves on or not, and you're going to go do a fight. You've been trained. He's been trained. You're going to meet up, do some combat, and then go and get absolutely smashed afterwards. That's how we roll.
How pissed off were you after the first fight?
Pretty pissed off, but you live and you learn, and you move forward, and you get over stuff quite quickly, I believe.
Could you ever sense when someone was scared against you then?
Yeah, you can sense it for sure.
What do you notice?
You notice body language.
Okay, for those scoring at home, in questions 1 through 8, Tyson Fury averaged 28.6 words per answer. In questions 9 through 24, which is where we're at, 8 minutes in, Ryen Russillo has asked 24 questions. And on average, the answer has been 34.5. So at this point, you're going to see Ryen Russillo change tactics. He's going to admit what you can hear as he's been chuckling throughout, like, I don't even know what to do. I don't know where to go with this. You can tell he's getting exhausted. So now he's going to employ the label.
I'm out of questions. I thought we were going to go longer. You're in a mood right now, and you're ready to go. I don't know. I mean, I know you.
I'm not in a mood. I'm in a happy mood. I'm not in a bad mood. I'm in a good mood.
I can tell you're kind of in a good mood, but I don't want to be. I feel like I'm f***ing up your day a little bit here.
No,
So
you're not f***ing up my day. It's cool. I'm not doing anything. I've done my training today. I've had my dinner. I've drunk my water. I've had my minerals and vitamins. I'm ready.
All right. Right here, Ryen Russillo applies label number 2 and then label number 3. He says, all right, I'm out of questions. I thought we were going to go longer. You're in a mood right now and you're ready to go. I don't know. And that's what he does. He says, you're in a mood. All right. And kind of when someone's like getting frustrated and say, hey, it seems like you're getting angry. For most people, especially if they're men, I'm not going to get into the gender differences because I'm not smart on that. My wife can attest to it. I don't know enough. I will say though, in dealing with dudes, the most time you say, hey man, it seems like you're getting upset. The most common response, they might even yell it at you, says, no, I'm not. I'm not upset. Right. And that's exactly what Tyson Fury does. He says, no, I'm not in a mood. He says, I'm in a happy mood. I'm in a good mood. So that's label number 2. Ryen Russillo says, you're in a mood right now. Now, the proper Chris Voss version would say, it seems like you're in a mood right now. But at this point, we're well beyond that with this conversation. Then Russillo backs off a little bit and he says, yeah, I can tell you're kind of in a good mood, but I don't want to be ... I feel like I'm beeping up your day a little bit here, right? He's labeling how he feels. And what does Tyson Fury say? He says, no, you aren't. You're not effing up my day. I know my day. It's cool. I'm not doing anything. I've done me training today. I've had a big dinner, drunk me water, minerals and vitamins. I'm ready. So you're going to see right here, all right? Up to these 24 questions, the average answer has been a little bit over 34 words per answer from Tyson Fury. What Ryen Russillo has done is said, dude, I'm exhausted. I don't have any more questions. You seem like you're in a mood, and I don't want to screw up your day. And Tyson Fury says, no, man, no, you're not. And you can see this changes everything.
So what's it like when you're done? What's the rest of your day like in Vegas? Because you got like 3 weeks here.
Yeah, I got 2 weeks on Saturday. So I wake up quite early because I get to bed early. I wake up at like 6 a.m. I'll come downstairs, have a coffee, wake up the rest of the house because I don't like everyone sleeping while I'm awake. So we all get up, have a little coffee together, a little like reunion coffee every morning. Sometimes I go to the shop and get an energy drink, like a caffeinated drink. I'm not going to say any names because I'm not getting paid. And then about 8 o'clock, 7:30, I have breakfast. 10 o'clock, I go to the gym. Come back at 1 o'clock, I'll have my lunch. And then I'll rest until 4, train again. And then I'll have my lunch, me tea about 6:30. Do a little bit of R&R, rest and recover, watch a few movies, and then get to bed. I'm tired by about 9 o'clock, absolutely falling asleep. Get to bed, get up the next day, do exactly the same thing. Pretty boring, actually. Very boring, I'd say. Training camp life is the most solitude, boring thing that anybody could ever do. Imagine just doing that, exactly what I've just said there, for like 10 weeks without even having any breaks anywhere, taking any days off. That's it, really. I look forward to it.
Because, look, I've been following you now. I've read everything. I've watched everything. And I always think of like, if you're a fighter, which I'm not, but, to be at peace the way you are in your life, which you've shared with so many people, I think a lot of people from the outside could be like, hey, is that actually detrimental to being a fighter, to be at peace? But you being at peace has made you into the best version of you. Have you ever thought about that, how those two things kind of fight with each other?
Yeah, I believe that when a fighter's happy at home and within his own skin and happy with who he is, then you get the best results. And for a long time, I was battling mentally with my own self. And it took a lot out of me. It took a lot of time, a lot of effort to be comfortable with who I am and just be myself all the time. And when I got to grips with that, you still got to manage and maintain. If you suffer with mental health problems like I do, then I could drift back AWOL again quite quickly. So I've got to live like a military type lifestyle where I'm always training. Everything's a routine. I love a routine structured way of life. And if I do that, then I find I go straight through life on a nice, easy sailing path. But if I start going back and not training and whatever, no routine, then I can easily go mentally unwell quite quickly.
So as you can hear, everything has changed. Now there's part 1 of the conversation and part 2. The labels applied, label number 2 and number 3, Ryen Russillo, has changed everything. The first answer Tyson Fury gave was 225 words long. And it was rather impersonal, and he was talking about kind of the structure of his day. Russillo comes back. The second answer was 176 words long. So jump from an average of 34 words per answer to over 200. And we're not talking about impersonal things anymore. He's talking about battling his own mental illnesses. And he's talking about how much of a struggle it is to be the heavyweight champion of the world and living inside his own head. This is personal stuff. This is stuff that makes the human condition that we all can relate to. 180-degree pivot from the conversation they were having.
Because what you guys do is so hard. I mean, it's not just hard, the show that we get to see on a Saturday night, all the stuff you're talking about, the 10 weeks, the regiment, but it's almost like that's perfect for you now because of everything that you've gone through, which actually makes you a better fighter. I mean, is that fair?
Yeah, I think the last 3 years I've been most dedicated I've ever been in my whole career. I've had the easiest training camps because I've come in on weight. Usually I'd have to lose like 110 pounds on average every training camp. This time I come in, I'm on weight. I've not got to worry about losing weight. Just eat clean and do plenty of training. It's good fun. Before it wasn't fun. It was a horrible job that I hated. It was a burden to me. Where now I love training camp. I could do it every day. And I absolutely love training. And they always say you realise when you're at the end of your career, a lot of football players, a lot of hockey, everybody, they all realise when they were young, they were undedicated. When they get to like the 30s, they really dedicate themselves. But better late than never. That's what I always say.
All right. So at this point, the conversation kind of continues on for a while. I found it less interesting, but it was clear there were two parts to that. Now, the first part, the first 24 questions Russillo asked, on average, the answer was 31.3 words for the first 24 questions. The last 4 questions almost average 175 words per answer. And he went from giving more detailed, elaborate answers that were kind of structural about how his day works to getting more and more personal. And then where does he end up? Tyson Fury ends up talking about how being a professional boxer, being heavyweight champion of the world was a horrible job. And he said he hated it and it was a burden to him and he was struggling with himself mentally. And these are human condition issues, and you do not have to be heavyweight champion of the world to understand kind of what he's going through. Made it very personal. And then he talked about the paradise syndrome. You put all your eggs in one basket, you set an unreachable goal, and you achieve it. And it becomes that you don't really have any goals anymore. You don't have targets. It's almost like you've completed your journey. It's your Mount Everest, and it's pretty difficult to switch to another goal. When you've achieved that unreachable goal, then you struggle a lot. This is something that we all can relate to. And we know other people who struggle with this, setting goals and achieving them. And then you get there and you're like, now what? Right? So my point is, this is all extremely personal and relatable, which is 180 degrees from where Russillo and Tyson Fury began. And if you go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools, you can download the transcript and you can see graphically the number of questions that were asked, which was 28 in total in the clip you just heard. And you can see exactly where the labels were applied and what happened with the data points before and after those labels. And it's staggering, but it's going to visually represent what you heard and what you felt. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention Tyson Fury talking about the importance of routine and consistency and discipline. And that's what we really have built into the OSR Academy as well. We talk about the 4 fundamentals and really hammer these home, which are goal setting, right? We just talked about that. Time management, so critical. Pipeline management and continuously prospecting. And this kind of goes back as well to the sales stack of having a lot of discipline about your day and understanding your own sales process, your own sales activities, your own sales skills, and the sales tools that can help you get there. So again, for the last 4 podcast episodes, we have videos for each of those. If you are interested in using this yourself, you can go and download, again, behindyourbacksales.com/tools. You can download the transcript of this conversation along with my notes where I highlight these areas where we insert a label. We talk about the stuff from Never Split the Difference on how that works. But this was such a great example in real time about how it changes everything. And if you employ these small techniques, big changes can come. And ultimately, you're going to have more meaningful relationships and discussions, which is exactly what happened here between Russillo and Tyson Fury. So one of the questions that we often get around the OSR Academy is, how is it going to be different? How is it going to be more engaging? And how are you going to keep the people who are so busy, how are you going to keep them involved? Well, part of it is doing things that are different and hopefully entertaining and fun and relatable, which is pulling things from pop culture that are happening now and using it as a case study in real time. And that's what we tried to do here. So this is an example of what you will get more of in the OSR Academy if you're interested. If not, I get it. It's not for everybody. It's not a small sum. Go to behindyourbacksales.com/tools and download all the stuff that we put up there on the sales stack and negotiation and the sales pipeline and use it for your team to get better. I want to thank our friends at Capital One Trade Credit for sponsoring this episode, for bringing it to you and sponsoring the downloads that you can get for free. Again, behindyourbacksales.com/tools. So thank you, Capital One Trade Credit. We're going to close out like we always do with our sales and leadership mantra. You, my friend, are owed nothing. Deliver value first.